Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah. We continue reading from Imam Al-Ghazali's on Disciplining the Soul, Kitab Riyadat al-Nafs, translated by T.J. Winter al-Hakim Murad. We're still reading the introduction, very interesting introduction indeed. And the very last thing that we have read was a paragraph from Margaret Smith's work that attests to the high status of women in Islam. This is page 38 of the introduction. So what was her paragraph? There is ample evidence, she said, then that at the beginning of the Islamic era, women had much freedom in the choice of their husbands, that marriage was in many cases an equal partnership, and that women could and did assert their right to an independent life. Social intercourse between women and men was not restricted to close relatives, but women might meet with strangers in society. They went about freely and had the right, as we have seen, to go into the mosques at the time of prayer, to worship in common with the men. Moreover, those who were versed in jurisprudence expressly recognized the right of a wife on marriage to make a condition that there should be no second wife, nor even a concubine. And this right, as we have seen above, was frequently claimed. I thought that if we choose to speak just a little bit about the Prophet ﷺ at home, what did he do, for example, it would reflect a certain image of woman, really. For example, he used to cut meat. Another example, he used to milk the she-goat. Another one, he used to patch his own shoes. Another one, he used to do needlework to patch his own clothing. Another one, he was tidy. كان يصنع شيئا يخزن شيئا. There is a general hadith. These, I think, all of these traditions, probably all of them were narrated by Aisha radhiyallahu anha. One general hadith, he used to do house chores, a general tradition. House chores, so house chores are genderless in a sense. And in fact, women who are served before marriage, they are entitled to be served after a marriage. They have, we said this before, independent financial identity. The dowry is hers in the absolute sense. She participated in every aspect of everything that they did in the life, and during the time of the Prophet. Like not only they were nurses in the Muslim army, they literally fought along side of the Prophet ﷺ. Ammar al-Mazani is a very famous female companion. She, her husband, and her son, they were literally fighting. She was not cooking for the army. She was not nursing. There were other women who did take care of the injured. But she was literally right next to the Prophet ﷺ, defending him even. And Nusayba, that is her name. There's a whole family in Jerusalem who continues to live in Jerusalem for centuries from her own offspring. So these would tell just a little bit about the they participated in public discussions. A woman corrected Umar ibn Khattab when he attempted to limit the dowry, name it. They were literally part of the public discussion. So their role is definitely, and there was a contemporary Egyptian scholar gathered the biographies of women scholars of Islam, and he had something like uh, 26, 27 volumes of Muslim women scholars. And there was one who taught in Damascus literally from the pulpit. This is, and we have, and so it's not whether there are women scholars, it's really the reception. So sometimes it's really the culture. It's not Islam per se, it's the local culture. Okay. So the text continues of Timothy Winter, Abd Hakim Murad, a related contrast between Islamic and Christian views of womanhood is supplied by conflicting ideals of female sanctity. Christianity did, of course, nurture many female saints, but its ideal was almost invariably celibate, drawing inspiration from the virginal immaculateness of Christ's mother, Maryam alayhi salam. While Islam retained great reverence for Mary, expressed at some length in the Quran, in practice most Muslims chose to adopt Fatima, the Prophet's daughter, as their feminine ideal. Fatima was at once saint, wife, and mother, whose nearness to God seemed to have been confirmed rather than compromised by her biological fulfillment. As the fertile source of the Ahl al-Bayt, the privileged and saintly descendants of the Prophet ﷺ, she gave to Muslim women a paradigm of fulfillment, and to men a sign that sanctity was not excluded by the normal functions of womanhood. Ahlul Bayt, Ahlul Bayt, Ahlul Bayt. There are different, of course, interpretations of Ahlul Bayt. I can say something about that which is not predominant, not famous amongst people, like the Ahlul Bayt or the Al Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, are the pious from amongst his ummah. Some said that it's the whole ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Some said it's Quraysh. Of course, we talk about the Muslims. And what I would like to highlight is that those who said that the wives of the Prophet are not from amongst al-Bayt, Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they might be a position exclusive to the Shiites, one way or the other, might be, or at least inspired by the Shiites, but in details, there is a general understanding of Ahlul Bayt as Ahlul Bayt in Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Al Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. They are his, it even begins with his wives and his offspring. Also the Banu Hashim and Banu al-Muttalib, and those who were affiliated with them. Yes. There are Muslim scholars who said that al-Muttalib, they are not included. But the predominant position is that Banu al-Muttalib are amongst the Ahlul Bayt. There are other details. This is enough to say something that the Ahlul Bayt is not an agreed upon definition. So every Muslim would agree about that, about the existence of the Ahlul Bayt, Ahlul Bayt. But once it comes to definition who's included, there are some differences. And this would, of course, translate into the 12th Imamites, who believe in the existence of 12 Imams from Al-Bayt until the disappearance of the 12th Imam, whom they believe he lives in occultation, that he will re-emerge at the end, before the end of time. So Fatima, as the fertile source of the Ahlul Bayt, the privileged and saintly descendants of the Prophet ﷺ, she gave to Muslim women a paradigm of fulfillment, and to men a sign that sanctity was not excluded by the normal functions of womanhood. Further proof of this esteem for women is supplied by an interesting genre of Sufi tales, which depicts righteous women either demonstrating superior powers of sexual continence or confounding the spiritual pride of their male brethren. The following anecdotes are not untypical. They relate that a leading man in Basra went to his garden. By chance, his eye fell upon the beautiful wife of his gardener. He sent the fellow away on some business and said to the woman, "Shut the gates." She replied, "I have shut them all except one, which I cannot shut." He asked, "Which one is that?" "The gate," she said, "that is between us and God," meaning that God is watching us, and that cannot be, because he wanted people not to see him. On receiving this answer, the man repented and begged to be forgiven. Once, when traveling in the desert, I went on ahead of my caravan and espied someone. I hurried to catch up with this person and found that it was a woman walking slowly with the aid of a staff. Thinking that she was sick, I put my hand in my pocket and produced 20 dirhams. "Take these," I said. The context, the space, it's the desert. Thinking that she was sick, I put my hand in my pocket and produced 20 dirhams, 20 silver coins. "Take these," I said, "and wait until the caravan catches up with you, and you can pay to join it. Like you will have a ride," since she was walking with difficulty using a staff to aid her. "Then come to me tonight and I will set your affairs in order." But she waved her hand in the air, and lo, it contained dinars. Here it says larger coin. It's not larger coin. Dinar is gold compared to the silver that he produced. She said, "You take dirhams from your pocket, from Jaib, but I take dinars from the unseen, from the ghaib. You take silver from the Jaib, I take gold from the ghaib." So it seems that this woman in the desert, she had direct connection, direct support. One might say, what are you talking about? Remember when Zakaria alayhi salam, he was entrusted with bringing food and provision to Maryam alayhi salam in her seclusion. He would already find that she had food, and when he asked her about the whereabouts of this food, she said, "It is from God." There he remembered and he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for offspring, and he was granted Yahya, John the Baptist alayhi salam. Ghazali too uses stories such as these the translator says, see page 188 of the present translation. He even includes a long section in the Ihya devoted to stories of pious women. Some of these are shown wandering in the desert seeking solitude with God, while others, like the saintly Sha'wana, have their own teaching circles in which they give spiritual counsel to men and women alike. Sha'wana was a contemporary of Fudayl bin Iyad, of African descent. When Fudayl bin Iyad asked her about, he asked her to that she would make a prayer on his behalf, a supplication. She told him, you have nothing between you and him, so that if you call on him, he would respond to you, he would accept your dua. He fainted. So this tradition, however, existed side by side with a reservoir of Near Eastern aphorisms and proverbs, which portrayed women as licentious, perfidious creatures of the stamp of Potiphar's wife, Imra'atul Aziz. This is, they say that her name is Zulaykha, but at any rate, she tempted Yusuf, Prophet Joseph, alayhi salam. She attempted, and she failed. And many of these stories too found their way into popular Muslim lore. A sage wished that his short wife might have been tall. People asked him, why did you not marry a wife of full stature? A woman is an evil thing, he answered, and the less there is of an evil thing, the better. This is an example of how such stories infiltrated the popular narrative. This is not part, of course, of Islam in any way. In general, this kind of sentiment was expressed in more secular literature. We still have, until today, we still have a cultural line that is not healthy, that is un-Islamic, with forged prophetic traditions, that literally look down on they are demeaning, they are to give examples. One example is a hadith. It's famous, but it's not, of course, it's a hadith in the sense of it has been designated as a hadith, but it is definitely not. شاورهن وخالفهن. Consult women only to differ with them, only to reject their opinion, only to ignore their advice. This is not the Sunnah of the Prophet. The Sunnah of the Prophet is that at the Hudaybiyah, when it became apparent that the Prophet ﷺ agreed with the Meccans to the terms of the truce of Hudaybiyah, many details, but the bottom line, and the Prophet ﷺ said, while the delegation of the Meccans were on their way, they already started, like at a distance, they saw them. He said that on that day he will accept any condition that will preserve life. And I think political leaders should heed this call from all backgrounds. Enough massacres, enough genocide, enough ethnic cleansing. He will, so the Prophet ﷺ said, so now that he was on the outskirts of Mecca and he wanted to perform pilgrimage, and now he needed to offer his offering and to shave, a sign of fulfilling the intention of going to Mecca, but without reaching there because of that truce. and one of his the companions did not feel good. They thought that they are powerful and they are strong and they could simply take Mecca by force. And one of the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, advised him, just go outside your tent, ask your barber to shave you, and do offer the offering, and people will follow suit. And he did, and that's exactly what people did. That's really strange enough. I found that some Islamic sources deny women this status of being consulted by saying, well, the Prophet ﷺ did not consult her, she offered her consultation. This is sick, really. And the impact is that women could be specialized in certain fields where men are not, and they could use their expertise. In general, this kind of sentiment was expressed. I can give more examples from our culture, really, in the Arab culture, but this is not the issue now. In general, this kind of sentiment was expressed in more secular literature, such as the Thousand and One Nights, rather than in the religious texts with which we are here concerned. For the religious writers, faith was the only value, and as another of Ghazali's translators observes, in general, though not always, religious faith in women appears to be valued no less highly than religious faith in men. And while divorce and polygamy are, of course, regarded as this, in brackets, disabilities of women, some of the passages and anecdotes seem to imply a concept of marriage as a happy and lasting, and perhaps ideally monogamous partnership. A wife ought to be chosen for her piety and also for her sincere intention to bear and rear children, but not for beauty, wealth, or nobility of birth. I will return to a wife ought to be. I will return to this in a second, inshallah. Pious domesticity in women is regarded as no less pleasing to God than religious scholarship or holy war in men. Of course, there is no holy war in Islam. Jihad is not a holy war. Holy war is a Christian concept. And an anecdote tells how a man of the children of Israel acted upon his pious wife's advice in a way which pleased God and was rewarded in this world and the next. Now, what's the first of all? A wife ought to be chosen for her piety, but not for beauty, wealth, or nobility of birth. The primary, it should be, rather than, you don't say not for beauty, not, you might say the primary criterion is piety, ethics, morality, good character. That's really the foundation, the foundation stone, if you will. But there is no problem with the rest. And the hadith at stake might have an issue with the chain of narrators. If you choose beauty without piety, without religiosity, without ethics, without morality, without character, that's going to fire back. So now with the issue of divorce and polygamy, we know very well that go back to the story of Sarah, Ibrahim, Prophet Abraham and Sarah, alayhim salam. When Sarah realized that she was barren, she gave Hajar alayhi salam, mother of Ismail, Prophet Ismail alayhi salam. She gave Hagar to Abraham, and he did have, subhanallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he granted him Ismail alayhi salam. So this is the one of the reasons for polygamy, and it's not really an open thing, but this is rather than divorcing, that this is something now that might be a healthier alternative, and you take responsibility for the woman, for the children. And there's something here that is not mentioned, which is really widows, female companions during the time of the Prophet ﷺ and thereafter. Because of the wars that took place, companions were killed or died, and there was no such a thing as a woman remaining without a husband. That was the social security, if you will. Men behaved like men, and they would adopt, they will take the otherwise we have names like Asma bint Umays. She was married to Ja'far bin Abi Talib radiallahu anhu. He was killed in the battlefield, and thereafter she was married to Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, the first caliph, and this is after his wife Roman passed away, and Abu Bakr as-Siddiq died about 2 years after the death of the Prophet ﷺ, and then she was married to Ali bin Abi Talib. There was no shame. I mean, there was no shame. It was not really a problem to get married again and again. This was the one of the things that took place in the society and was not frowned upon. And it's really hypocritical when in Western societies they point to this. The patriarchs in the Old Testament, they had more than one wife, and also they themselves in the West, they do have extramarital affairs. And I had a book that addressed this issue, Religions in America. It's not written by Muslims, written by two Americans, and they looked into the number of relationships that people have, even as in their early 20s. By that time, they would have many relations, and this is absolutely not healthy. Whether we talk about STDs, whether we talk about psychological, social issues, and even economic, because men in the West do not want to take responsibility for the children that they bring to the world. a long issue indeed. Suffice it, we end with this, with the end of this paragraph, and we'll continue with Al at the beginning of the next session. It will be still in the introduction, inshallah. Until then, سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.